Welcome back again to Cody's Radio Workshop. We've still got that R707 on the bench that I've just managed to sort out with the wave change bank with the electrical cleaner, and it's all working nicely now. It's just cosmetically, although it's really nice already. Just looking at the Teak cheeks, they just need a little bit of attention. Everything else seems to be pretty much okay. The grills, it's okay. It's not the best one I've seen, but it's certainly not the worst. But just the Teak cheeks that just need a fettle. So, what I'm going to do is use some of the Magic Juice, the Screwfix No Frills Heavy Duty Degreaser. And what I do is I put a little bit of it onto a cut-up sponge with the scotch pad on one side, obviously the sponge on the other. I've got some of the degreaser in a spray bottle. I just put a tiny bit on, like that. And then I get to one of the Teak cheeks and just smear it on. Trying to make sure that I don't get it on anything that I'm not supposed to get it on. And work it in underneath the handle. This is the side with the scratch around here too. A little bit more of the degreaser on the sponge. And then just leave it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. You can already see it's starting to change colour. Yeah, it's already taking the finish away. I'm just going to leave that for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And then by magic of television, it'll only be a few seconds until you see it again. And then we'll wipe it away. See you soon. And we're back again. We've left it for about 11 minutes. That's given time for the degreaser to work its way in, and you can already see where it's bubbled up. So now I'm going to clean it off. Now what I use for cleaning it, before I clean it off, I'll just show you. You can see there the when I was actually just working it in, what actually came off. So yeah, to actually get it off, I use the good old electrical cleaner again. Just put a spray of that all over the top and get a cleaner sponge. Let gravity take some of the heavy work away, and we just rub that and work that one in. That just gets rid of the build-up that was removed. You can already see what's coming away there. So this just removes the excess oil and stain and varnish. I mean, it's still, it looks pretty good at the minute, but it's wet and that will dry. So I'm just using the electrical cleaner, just because it's kind of a solvent, just to wipe all of the crud away, and that is the technical term. Making sure that I get right underneath the handle. And this time I like to use microfiber cloths. Bit more electrical cleaner on there, and just give it a wipe. I mean, the alternative to doing it chemically is to actually sit there and sand it. But I don't like to take too much of the finish away. I just like to take the excess away, and the degreaser coupled with the electrical cleaner does that really quite well. And that's why I'm just doing the one side on camera. I'll do the other side later once this one's done, just so you can see the difference when it is complete. So one other good thing, just while I'm here, you can see the marking on the chrome there. Again, a little bit of the screw fix cleaner. Pop that on. You don't even really have to leave it. Just buff it with a dry part of the cloth and we're glossy again. So we just leave this now for about 10 minutes this time, 15 minutes maybe, to allow the wood to dry. And then we'll come back and have another look at it. Show you what we're going to do next. I'll see you in the next clip. And we're back again. You can see that this has dried now, and it looks vastly different to how it began, which was quite grubby, a little bit dirty, but not bad, but not looking its best. So now I'm going to use a clean bit of sponge with the scourer bit, but this time I'm using some teak oil. Now, a lot of times I actually use the Colron Danish oil, but sometimes I don't like it to come up too shiny. I just like it to look quite natural, but as if it's been cared for all of its life, when in reality it's only been cared for the last 20 minutes. But that look, with care, should carry on for many years. And just make sure that we get it on there, and then as soon as it's on, turn the sponge over, use the dry part of the actual sponge and just wipe it off. Just to wipe away all of the excess. We don't want any excess on there, we just want the lightest of coats, just to darken the wood down. And this again will probably take 5 or 10 minutes to dry, and then we'll come back and assess whether it needs, or whether I think it needs, another coat. Sometimes they do, sometimes not. But that's one really micro thin layer of the teak oil, and that should soak nicely into the wood over the next 10 minutes. So again, I'll see you in the next clip. Hello again, we're back again. It's been about 10-15 minutes, well, closer to 10 minutes, and the teak oil has pretty much dried, and it does look quite nice. I'm really quite pleased with how that one's turned out. However, could be a little bit better. So what I'm going to do this time is to get the steel wool, the quadruple 0 grade steel wool. Just pull a small amount of that away, and we will use some of that just to buff up any imperfections on that surface. Go with the grain as much as you can. Not always possible, but all you're doing is just smoothing that teak oil down without applying too much pressure. Then give it a wipe again with your cloth to get rid of any tiny bits of steel wool, because you don't want those in the finish. Like so. And then this time, another new sponge. But on top of the Teak oil, we're going to put the Colron Danish. So it is, again, just the tiniest of amounts. Which really does lend itself quite well to covering the entire side of the radio. Well, of the radio case. So that's that on there. It's just a trick of the light there. And again, we get the sponge and just pull some of it back. We don't want too much on there. We only need a tiny amount. And that should be that after this coat. So we've got one coat of Teak oil and one coat of Danish oil. One other chap I'm aware of, I mean, I use the Colron Teak oil, but I use the screw fix degreaser, which I've used for cleaning the side of this, but he's using the screw fix Danish oil, and I think he's getting really rather good results, and it's an awful lot cheaper than the Colron stuff, I'm sure. So I'd be interested to hear from him to see how he's got on with using it. I mean, this Colron stuff that I've got, it's just the tiny amount that you need, but I do use it quite a lot because I do go through quite a few radios. Right, and back to the microfiber cloth, and just the lightest of wipe overs, and just taking any of the remaining excess away. You don't need to rub hard, you're not trying to remove the oil, you're just trying to remove the excess oil. And we'll just leave it at that now. And probably leave that, it's best probably to leave it for several hours and then buff up. But it will start to look good after maybe just half an hour. If you were putting several coats on, then it's best to leave them for 12 to 24 hours between coats, really. But as that is the only coat of the Danish oil that I shall be putting on, around about an hour, and it should be touch dry. And then we'll turn the radio over and I'll do the other side off camera. So I will pause at this moment, and I'll come back to you in around about an hour. I won't move the radio from there, and we'll start recording again, and we'll see how it's got on and what it looks like, and you should be able to then compare that to how it is now to how it was before we started, and see a vast difference, all for very little money. You know, the amount of degreaser that I've actually used on the side there was very minimal. Again, exactly the same with the Teak oil, and again the same with the Danish oil. Just the lightest of coatings. I don't want it to look too shiny, but I do want it to look a little silky, because I think on some sets it warrants silky, and on an R707, my personal opinion is that's the best look. On some sets you do want them like glass, and that will take you several days to get the Danish oil. Several coats of the Danish oil will take you several days to get done, but then the side will effectively look like glass. I personally like them to look less like glass and just like the wood's just been buffed up. So again, we'll pause, and I will be back shortly, around about an hour's time, a few seconds for you really, but about an hour for me, and then you can have a look at what it looks like when it's done. Thanks very much, see you soon. Right, we're back again. This should be the final bit. I will do the other side at my leisure so you don't have to sit through. I just wanted to go through the procedure of what I do. You can see that the teak oil and the Danish oil have dried, and there is just a sheen to it, and that's how I like them to be. That teak side, or the teak cheek as I call them, is a lot better. It's over 100% better than it was in real life. It looks absolutely amazing. Perhaps on camera not quite so much so, but it's just that sheen you just get. I don't like it too glossy, but I do like it to just look like that really. And if I turn it over and we have a look at the other one, there's just a bit of a sheen on that one, but I've not cleaned that one at all yet. So we turn back over, you can just see it reflecting. So there we go. There's the R707. I suppose all that's really left to do now is to clean this dial face. Just brush it off, because it's not bad. I don't even think it'll need a polish. It must have been stored somewhere really quite nice and dust free. It has got dust on it, but yeah, there we go. So just to recap what we did, there's the teak cheek with the sheen. We stripped it back with Screwfix no nonsense heavy duty degreaser. It's $8.99 for 5 litres, and I bought my 5 litres beginning of the year, and I have still got about half a bottle of it left, and I have used it a lot. So we cleaned all of the old oil back off there with the degreaser. We then applied 1 coat of teak oil, and we let that dry, and then we applied 1 coat of Danish oil, and we allowed about 45 minutes really for that to dry, and then buffed it with a cloth, and there we go, sheeny shiny. Catch you in the next one.